Oops, it's coming on now. Well, I got the glitchy one. Hey, you guys, this is Rick Worth calling. You know, I appreciate you guys chiming in and listening to me and my rants here and there. I'm never gonna really take anything back. You know, I can notice whenever if I get the chance to, and I do rereads and hear some of my things, my dyslexia has this tendency to show up. I don't think it's messing it up too bad. All right. So I used to go in and put a little, what I was supposed to say, but you know, it's not so terrible. But basically, if you're just tuning in, what I've been doing is I've been trying to give the what would be called the inside view of the Bible. And of course, an inside view is an idea of, you know, along the lines of what we call the spirit of the text. It's generally what is unseen by just the normal or the casual reader. But if you were to read the Bible tells you, you know, in certain parts. I'm going to have to probably do one of these classes or one of these lessons here just to show you how the Bible tells us how to read it. And but one of the best sources is by a supposed writer, Paul, who says that being ministers of the New Testament, not by the letter, for the letter kills, but by the Spirit, for the Spirit saves. And so many, excuse me, so many times have I brought the stories up to show you that it's what they really mean when they say certain things. Like the Lamb of God, a Lamb of God is you and me. When we become slain, it's when we go under a meditation, and this is called killing the lamb. This is the sacrifice of the lamb. And what you're doing is you're killing yourself. You're killing yourself for your enemies. You know, this is how you overcome your enemies. You conquer your enemies by dying for them. Okay, that's the premise of Jesus. That's the idea. So we're going to be like him. The idea is that we too, in our meditation, I just went over this with you, is, you know, we give up the Lamb of God, you know, when we go into meditation. And of course, all of the stories, I was wanting to go through Revelation, and we did do the churches, the letters to the churches. Clearly they are talking about the chakra system. Every story that I've ever shown you is about that chakra system. It is a two-way system. You know, it can carry a negative energy and it can carry a positive energy. It depends on which way it's being used. And mostly I would say that when it's in the bad side, it's whenever your man side, the man is in charge, and when you get the lower conscious as the boss. This is your beast. This is the two-horned, seven-crowned monster. Or let's see, he's got seven crowns, two horns, and there's like 10 something another, 10. I'm going to have to look this up, but it doesn't matter. The beast is you. The beast is always you. Gog is part of the beast system. All of these things that you're talking about, you know, there's this dragon who goes up and munches on this woman and her child. Okay. What happens is that they say that this was Jesus, but you know, it's clearly not. It's a female, all right, and her seedling. So what it does is it goes up there and gets the baby and runs off with it. So, you know, this is that idea of Baal. You know, when you give up your baby, when you worship the lower mind, and comes back and torments her. Well, anyways, later on, she's known as this whore of Babylon. because, she's drunk off of the death of all these, martyrs and stuff like that, and, she probably very well does represent the church. Because this is what they're saying in this book here, is that man has settled with another, something else. There's two beasts that have to be, that come together to fight this thing. And you remember that when they killed Jesus, earlier, in the book, that it was two things that got together to kill him. And that was the Roman, this would be the establishment, the government, and the Pharisees, the religious clan. These guys always live like two birds in a cow's tail, okay? And that runs rampant in here. She is this Babylon, she's on the back of the beast. You have to understand, you are the beast until you can connect the two together, and you're no longer that beast. So the mark of the beast is, basically you can say, do you meditate? And you say, no, I don't. I'm a Christian. There's your mark. It's talking about that. The entire thing is talking about you siding up with this outside. And if you want to be in captivity, you'll be in captivity. But those guys that want to die by the sword, or live by the sword, die by the sword, that's the truth. Sword means the truth. Later on in here, he comes flying in. I'll go through one of these. I'll go through one of the stories. Listen, if I just debunk one set of these stories, shows you the whole damn thing is about meditation, okay? None of it's real, and I've already done that, okay? See, this was the letters to the churches that suffer under Roman rule. Okay, Roman is the lower mind, and the 7 churches. What Jesus is doing is he's going to open these up. That's why he says, I'm going to fix this. Persevere. One of these days I'm going to come. And this makes everyone wait and wait. This is why they're waiting for that day of revelation, And he says, listen, it's really about, I'll help you open up those 7 chakras. And, that's what I'm here for. Well, anyways, this is the idea of, even earlier in some of these stories where this giant grabs a tabernacle. I don't even think it's part of these. It's some kind of, it's one of the Jewish myths where I think it was one of the giants, which would be considered, your left mind, grabs a tabernacle and runs off with it, And so that's, grabbing God and taking it, and stealing, God, so... it's all this idea of feeding from the lower. And so, let's see, And, all right, so what happens is, it's this, Jesus comes in, and he comes back, and I think he comes in and conquers everything. This, it's called a cosmic spiritual battle. The churches suffer from the Roman rules. And the Messiah fights the dragon and casts him into earth. And they will have to learn to resist him and continue their loving anyways. So it says this is no human is the real enemy. Dark forces at play. They're being told that there is really in this war, this Armageddon, there's no bloodshed. There's something else here. There's something mysterious, And they say it's like the dark forces at play. So, what that means is the lower energies, the beta conscious, this lower energy is this is the devil. This is everything from the lower. This is your magic and all this poofy crap, demons worshipping and that they've tricked you. They have absolutely tricked you into this hell on earth by using this Bible to do that with. All right, they know that this story is written because they know this. And by the way, this wasn't penned by John. No, this came from a guy named Zoroaster, a couple thousand years before the Bible ever even was conceived. All right, it's from his books, and I'm going to read one of his things one time too. 2,000 years before this. Here I can tell you, I can read the books and they sound exactly like these. All right, they have the same numerology in them, the same stages of consciousness, and the same messages. All right, so the 2 beasts are the establishment in religion. Now they use it for something else. They have the establishment on one side, and on the other side they have this thing about, making it divine, making whatever they do divine. And so what you would say is giving man their right to rule, and giving them, they become this God on earth, and they are a false God. This is the Catholic Church. This is actually, you can say the Catholic Church, but it's any church. Anything on earth that's trying to claim to be God or giving God's word is false. And just because they live on 7 hills, the 7 hills are it's your chakra. This is what they open up. This is what this is. This Bible was built, or this Bible, the words and all these things in here were made well before they ever created that place. I mean, well before they ever created whatever that is, St. Paul's. Okay. All right. So God, what happens is when Jesus comes up here, he casts the devil on earth. He said, now you're here. This is it. This is your place. You're stuck. So that means the lower mind is where he lives. All right. And I told you earlier that the seat of Satan is the 3rd chakra. And later on in the program, when I go through one of the routes of what happens with these vessels, these bowls, that the church, that these angels, let out on earth, different places on earth. You'll see one of the number, when they get ready to do like the 6th or the 7th, the 6th one, when you're ready to go, or it's 5th one, we'll see which one it is, but it shows that one of the angels pours right into the seat of Satan, which would be, the solar plexus, and everything goes dark. That's when, the sun sets. All right, because that's the idea. And so you would see that all of this is very symbolic and still saying the exact same things as I say all the time. So the 2 beasts are the establishments and man's creations. It's an allegiance. You have to, if you're going to be on earth, he was given the right to rule over earth. He's going to mark you. He says there's an allegiance. So this is church. This is why you have to be in the church. This is your mark. If you are in a church, this is probably the number system that's going on. But this mark of the 666, this is basically just a 9. Your lower conscious. If you follow your lower conscious, you can, it's pretty easy. I think you can tell. No, you can't. But in a way you can. You can just ask questions. I said, pull down their pants, they're cut or uncut. That doesn't mean that you don't go and meditate. But anyways, but they want to demand your full, if you're going to be on this side, they want you to be on this side. This is religion telling you that you'll no longer go this route. And that basically that if you, this is the Roman Church, prosecuting God's children. And they're not prosecuting Christians or Catholics. They're prosecuting those people that meditate. Just plain simple as that. They used to follow this. It took them 300 years to kill those people off. That's what they did. And then time else they find it. And a lot of this knowledge is in these ancient and Indians and all these indigenous. They have these same matching type of stories, and kill them motherfuckers too. But anyways, that's what you got to do. You got to die in Christ. You got to die for Christ. And so this whole idea is that they're all going to do the same thing. They're all going to go and die for Christ. If they did that, they're not going to kill anybody. They're only out there to be killed. For their enemies. But you have to understand that we die for Christ. We die for Christ. So let's not try to make any sense. Let's not try to make any literal sense out of this, please. All right. But anyways, this is so long and long and long. But anyways, this Babylon, these are the ideas that whenever your mind is allowed to run on its own, if you're allowed to, these beast nations, when they're on their own power, with their own religion, their own security, their own false god, trouble's gonna happen. That's it. Okay, this is This is the pairing up. They're actually telling you on this particular part of it. And of course, you know, the church should worry about this, because this is the trouble. This is what people have run off, and they've been told all of this. And you know, it takes me so long to try to knock it into people's heads, you know. But if you just read all of this, it's just the way it is. Hey, look, at the end of this little part of the story, Christ, the Lamb's army, he comes out of Babylon. He's coming out there. He's calling everybody. He says, you know, all you righteous in Babylon, come out of there, because something's about to happen. I'm about to break hell up on this place, you know. So, you know, so it's like, come on, you know, who can you find? Oh, I can only find Lot, you know. Babylon is like Sodom, you know. In fact, they say that. And they say where Jesus was crucified. In this part of the book, where was that, Egypt or Sodom? Which one of those places have you heard before when it was where Jesus was crucified? Okay, that's, you know, just think about that. Okay, and it says the Lamb's gods come out of Babylon. Because this is like number 7. This is number 7. This is when you've come out. You're going into, this is the eternal gospel is going to be taught from now on, you know, which is, you know, this Lord business, that when you make it over onto the 7th, and it's the grain harvest. They, you know, it sounds terrible, you know, they just cut them all out, and they're all sticking, hey, let me stick my sword in there, you know, get me a couple of times, you know, and he's talking about the 2 and stuff. It's so cool. It's really cool. Plus they're so-and-so, you know, gets 12,000 of this, and so-and-so, let's give him 12,000 of this, so-and-so, and get 12,000 of this, you know. That's 3, 1, 2, 3, so everybody's getting this beautiful blessing. Everyone, kill, kill, kill. It's funny, because the way when you read this like this is how they read it in real life. The people, because what happens next is that someone sticks a, you know, knife into the ground and pulls out, you know, the grapes, you know, and they look at that as being the people from the vine, and that they're being tromped on, you know, this, you know. But what's really happening is that, you know, you're being, if you can remember, you know, the way to serve the Lord is by pressing the grapes and releasing the Spirit. So, you know, that's, you know, you stomp, stomp, stomp. Remember, you want to believe on the outside of this Bible, it's going to be awful mean, it's going to be awful mean, but it really was the idea of pressing what was outside of the skin, the wine. The wine is spirit, you know, and fire is also in here. So whenever someone is drunk off the new wine, like this woman, she's drunk off the wine, you know, anyone that's drunk off the wine. That's why I'm kind of leaving that one gal out of the picture for a moment, because being drunk off of the new wine is about spirit. But that one in Babylon, she's off the blood of martyrs, which are, she survives off of people killing themselves. So that means she's probably pretty much the higher side of this, but in some kind of captive form, because we die to go and see her. And this is one of the places that you ever see her in the stories, isn't it? So anyways, that's the final judgment. It's you know, the wine press, you know, anytime you want the idea about the wine press, you know, don't worry, it's not a torture device. Although, you know, they say that after they went through this, the congregation, they went, God damn, they all go, oh, and he says, you know, at the end of it, says, that's because, you know, I did such a good job, you know, but I'll find that in a little bit. But it winds up getting that you get a choice. This is where your choice comes in. Wouldn't you like to have known this, you know, like when you were 8 years old or 7 years old, when they shoved the dead Jesus in your face, you know? He says, hey, you got a chance to believe this, you know, or, you know, there's this other part in here where he actually doesn't die at all, and it's just symbolic of a path that you choose on your own time and your own self, and you maintain it yourself for the rest of your life. Or you can believe in this one here, you know, it's going to cost you some money, you got to cry off a lot, you know, and what have you. You know, you're entrapped. So, you know, if you want to go, you know, if you want to live by the sword, come with me, you know, but if you want to live by the outside, you want to live, now listen here, this is mankind in a lot of places, but in this one here, it's they're calling it something else. Babylon. All right. So let's see here. The two choices are either, you want to be with the beast and suffer, you want to be with the lamb and resist Babylon, because we have to live here, because we have to share the space with them. That's the whole idea. All right, so we say, yeah. So the 7 bowls, the 7 divine judgments. This is what we're going to have all this crazy shit going on. But anyways, they start off with the number 5. They start off, let's do the 5 first, okay? The 5 bowls, the 5 wraths. There's 5. 5 is the body. It's what we have to sacrifice. And of course, there's we get sores on our skin, which is earth. The sea turns to blood, which is the second phase going into the water. The one with the fountains turn to blood, the fountains and rivers. This is where you mix of water and air together. This is the 3rd stage of consciousness, which is called air. And then the 4th one is about fire, where they were able to pour something onto the sun, and they were given permission to burn the fuck out of you. Okay, so yeah, it sounds really terrible, but this is your stages of consciousness. And that fifth part up there says darkness. In darkness. All right. Well, darkness does fall upon the land whenever this happens, and it's a beautiful thing. And let me see if I've got it connected here to something else. Yeah, over here it says here, this is where this is where one of the things is poured into the seat of the beast. Okay, the seat of the beast, the seat of Satan is the 3rd church. Okay, so it was poured into and his kingdom became darkened. What that is the Son of Man, the sun set. It became darkened. This is his kingdom. This is the lower. This is when you and I are out here. Right now, you and I are in his kingdom. We're using his kingdom to talk bad about him. That's probably why I have to keep talking mean to him, because I'm betraying myself. Okay? Because this is all about us. Okay? And remember, this battle in Armageddon is not about bloodshed or anything like that, but they keep forgetting about that from time to time. So these are like the plagues of Exodus and stuff like that, but you just have to remember that blood, when something is turned into blood, that's the spirit. We're going over onto the other side. It's a good thing. And they rose God, like, and then it shows in here but some of them did not obey. Some people don't obey. They still just did their own thing. So here's the 6. It's the dragon and the beast gather the nations together and make them make war against God's people. Okay, so what this is where the frogs are coming out of the mouths of people, and what those frogs, there's the 3 monsters. There was 3 beasts. Let me see if I have that written down here. Okay, the frogs of Revelation, the 3 beasts, that's the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet. That's you. That's you in your low mode. Right, I'm not the false prophet. I am prophesizing to you the truth. I'm telling you the truth. And I'm talking to you about a false prophet, which is when you are in your lower mode, and your dragon, your kundalini, the spirit side of you, this inside of you is basically telling you to stay negative. The beast itself, which is you, your whole body, is this here, and the whole prophet. It's the threefold. It's you. It's the 3. You thinking that you got it all, and that's the lower mind. Absence this other guy. So this is what is happening. And that, you might as well say that these are locusts, but what they do, these frogs are coming out of this mind. This thing is the beast that raised up out of the water, and he saw it while he was sitting on the sand. So this is his inside, and it's this monster, and it's going to go and clean house. again. And it sends these frogs out into all the lower places of this body, bringing everyone together and creating, so that they could kill everyone. We did the story before, whenever it was in Jonah. They said, well, here, wait, come and hang out until all the rest of you guys come in. We'll put some white jackets on you. If it wasn't the story itself, we wanted to make sure everybody was gathered, make sure all the brethren will come in so we can kill them all. So it's the same story. And he went to the seventh angel. Oh, let's go back and see. This is so much. Okay, so I'm not sure how long we can go with this here. Evil defeated one, Martin's, let's see, the day of the Lord, justice. Alright, so this is considered the day of the Lord. The seventh chakra. This is again this key opens the key of David to go into this place, a door that no one can open, but you. It's one of those wonderful things. Justice over evil. Evil is defeated once and for all, So this is that spiritual battle that we're doing. It's what we do inside of us. So it's nothing that goes on outside. And this Armageddon is really about, it takes place inside of us. Alright? And so, and the monsters, all these monsters, any kind of monster, you either have one that's going to come up and try to eat the good sides, which is our left side, trying to kill the right side. And then, and then there's this, sometimes we knock out that side and we send God down to do all the dirty work. So, so that's how the fighting goes in here. But the fall of Babylon, is this idea, and it's going to show her as a drunken woman on the back. The fall is that you're fallen. You are no longer that old self that you are, and you're going to become the new Babylon. It's being remembered later on. God remembers her, which means that she's restored. Remembers her in her glory day, And so it's the whole story again about going and defeating your enemies by killing yourself, by giving yourself up in this battle and defeating your enemies that way. So I don't really care to have to go too much further on this to show you how to debunk all of this. But let's see, the sixth bowl, this is, right before, this is when you're in the air, Jesus meets you here. This is where, we see Jesus come in the story. This is where he rides in on his white horse. This is theta, conscious, the third phase. He's in the air, These things that were poured out all over the place, it's being poured with the Spirit, so that it would be, it's being cleansed, it's being opened. So you can see that they're talking about our chakra system is already being polluted, and that these energies within us. So, if you really want it, he says, you knock on the door, anyone that knocks on the door, I'll open it, But then he tells you in here, knock and knock and knock, He wants you to be persistent, so maybe he wants to wait until you're absolutely sure, But he says, the martyrs, there's a time when Jesus dies for his enemies, that's his only weapon in his mouth is his sword, and it's not a weapon, and it's justice. Just sword means the truth, like water. Water is the truth. You're going to live by the truth. The soul is just thirsty for the truth. It's not looking for any blood. It's not looking to fight for space on earth. It's wanting love. It's really wanting love and dying to find it. He says that this male side really hates this. Oh my God, Jesus did it, or God just did this again. So he gets really kind of pissed off, and he says they bite their tongue to try to feel pain. All right, they bite their tongue to feel pain, which is, you're supposed to recognize that what they can't feel, because you're asleep, you're out, you're not going to feel it, So that's the fun part. All right, so let's get down to the final battle. The battle is there's this one last battle in the book, and it's There's the dragon that inspires all the nations to rally and rebel against God's kingdom. Okay, there's this group again, this dragon. I'm pretty sure that this is the religious group have coming to do one final, hey, we've got to stop this self-healing and this self-business going on. What can we do about this? And both, there's a story set that up a minute ago. When they tell you that he was cast, when the devil was cast into the earth is the lower mind. Not outside here, alright? You can't get rid of him that way. Alright, so anyways, this is the final battle, is this dragon who inspires all the nations, which is all of you, all of your moment, your thoughts, your fourfold nature of man and everything. You just are so believed in this other thing, and they rally you together to try to stop this from happening. And so what you get is the splitting of the brain. He draws a big half and he says, you want your part? You don't want to have any part of this, I'll tell you what, and you can have it. I'm going to make this definite little spot here, where now you're going to be over here, we're going to be here, and you're going to be over here, and you can't come over unless you ask, type of thing, Well, they don't say that part. Because they tell you that unless you, what is this? If you come, you have to die. Something about it. Here, I'll find it because it's really quite charming how it's worded. And it's so. Anyways, they split the brain, and those people that wanted to continue following the false god, and they just love all this other part over on this side, you don't have to. That's your choice. Okay, so they were quarantined for an eternity. That means, that we'll forever have the separation between us. Whereas if you don't want to go over here, you don't have to. But this side is certainly safe from you. Okay? There's nothing that you can do to fuck up the rock. You can get rid of the stone, you can blow the back off of you and all this stuff, You can destroy things like that, But to tell you the truth, it's invisible things, that they represent. We get 1,000 years of heaven and earth. That's one. Remember, one is just one. A bunch of thousands, a bunch of zeros and zeros. Upon the world. Oh, and it says that and those people that have brought the hell on this world will die by the way that they brought this onto the world. They'll suffer from it. That's one of the cool things. It's like, if there was some kind of retribution, whoever has kept this hidden from us, later on they got their comeuppance. I don't know how it could happen, but I think just having to be, live in the lower mind is enough. That's probably the sentence, just being stuck in that. So anyways, this is about, the New Jerusalem opens up, there's the marriage that's coming in for God, for Jesus, it's the combination, it's where the Jesus and his bride, this is the male, the two sides, this is your mother and father, come together. This is what the whole point in going in, bringing yourself into one. That's what the one is, the year marriage. The bride of the Lamb, which is you. You got married to your higher side. Now you're the new creation, and you can live happily ever after. Jesus lives and dwells with you. This is his promise, that he'll come and dwell with you. It's hard to say he's not going to make it on the earth. He says, he's going to come he's going to come and live with us on earth, and he was going to make everything all brand new again. All right, so a lot of people believe that this guy's going to come out of the sky someplace, kill a bunch of this, do all that, do a lot of destroying everything, and then, twinkle, 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 and everything is going to miraculously be restored back to normal. Well, that's not what happens on the outside, but it happens on the inside. And you are restored almost would say immediately. If not, you had to wait around to see the wonderful effects that happen to you as you grow. Because as you gain this light and as you give this child, you notice that, selling your child or give all these stories, they come, ball that one about to comes up and gets your baby, that keeps you from being able to go over on this side. That's what it means. I kill a bunch of birds with one stone, and this way with one stone. But anyways, I don't know what else I have. There's a big earthquake that happens after that, which is cool. The seventh angel, pours her thing into the air. Okay, so that's the final thing. She poured it into water. She poured it into, or on the land. She poured it on water. She poured it in the air. I think they only have one more thing. And this big earthquake happens, and that's the effects of everything that happens. So, a great city, the great city of Babylon, the great city now, which is considered Jerusalem. That's how come it's old. This would be considered Jerusalem. It's split into three. All right, and there's you would say it was a three. That's Israel is what you have to do. Because that's the female Israel, the male Ra, come together and created the God. We created the one. So it's all three of us together. So we've been not divided by three, but the three came in. That's the number that's very important. It says, nations fell and the great Babylon came in remembrance before God. Isn't that sweet? Gave her a cup of wine for the wrath that he put her through, and of course wine is spirit. Okay, all right. She's and there fell upon men a great hail from the heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent, and men blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail. For the plague thereof was exceedingly great. Oh, let me tell you, glorified killing. That's what that is. But he just does a really good job, is what he's saying, and he's kind of, bragging on it, He's kind of like, because he comes like a thief in the night, all these come into this story, when you least expect it and stuff like that. So I hope you understood how you go about reading the Bible. I mean, these numbers and things like that, they're very important. You wonder why they ever did it. Well, that's so that I could read this. And this tells you that I can't make this stuff up. This is, and I left a lot out because that's some long-winded shit. But if you had any particular question about things, those things with the 10 horns and the 10 things, our five is our body. Everything's in duality. So you have the good side and the bad side. And so, you're talking about your skin. And it has to be shut down, and it has to die, and it's the cedar and the wood, hey, but let's be careful, don't mess with the gold and the wine, let's not mess around with that, don't mess it up. And the wine press, the idea of serving the Lord, the correct way is by the natural way, the one that just comes natural, like the vine. It's just so beautiful. All right. So, anyways, I know it's a long one, but I told you I'd do it. I put in some homework on this, and as dyslexic as I am, I think I did okay with this. But Revelation is nothing to be afraid of. It's the culmination of all these wonderful things that we've learned through life. That's 6, that idea that we have done our works. And once we've done our works, we're ready for a rest. So if you get a chance on the 6th day, the day before the Sabbath, you'll have a great time. Jump and enjoy it. Just jump right into it. That's that leap. That's that leap that you do. Jump from 6 to 7. Right? I love you guys, and I want to tell you the truth, as I know it myself, and I discover it. This was wonderful. It's wonderful. How about that plague of hail? And it hit every man. You know, that's really a talent is about the weight of a man, I believe is what they say. And if not, it would have to mean 9, you know, in some way. But this is also the stars that fall from the sky from heaven and hit the earth and stuff like that. This is just, you know, just another way of telling that. But those stones were really good. You know, when it hits the man, you know, only good things happen. You don't get hurt. You know, you get restored. You get changed. All right. Have a wonderful day. All right. What's left of it.